game, everyone. This is Richie Ramone, and you're listening to Still Toking with. Yeah.
Greetings, my friend. This is the brain of TV's Pinky in the Brain. Yes, and my human avatar, Maurice LaMarche.
Hi, it's Chris Poland, and you're listening to Still Toking with.
Hey, this is Eric Rolon, voice of Kendo Rappa on My Hero Academia, and host of the Tough Love Podcast. You're listening to Still Toking with on the Dorkening Podcast Network.
My crew is ready to obtain the absolution, removing any doubt that we was ever fooling.
What's happening, everybody? Welcome to another kick-ass episode of Still Toking with. Yeah, you already know who I am. But before we dive into everybody else, I want to say we've been blessed over the years to have some legends, some icons, some legendary icons. And this gentleman tonight is in that caliber of legendary icons.
Thank you.
I can't say much more. There's the voice in my head. He just wants to pronounce because it's his birthday, folks. So, yes, it's Mr. Holman's birthday. Check it out on Facebook. Wish him a happy birthday. But to get on with the show, the man that brings Flash every week, Mr. Jeffrey Mark.
And before I get started, because you know that I have to, right?
Okay.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Jeff. Happy birthday to you. Yay! And you get to introduce a legend, Jeff Holman.
Hey. Yes. Happy birthday. There's a bunch of other people that have birthdays today, so say happy birthday to all of them too. Because that's important. Yeah.
Happy birthday, everybody.
Yeah. So let's get this on. This guy's got a hell of a story. He's been around a while. I think everybody on the planet knows who this gentleman is. So let's just bring him right in, Mr. Richie Ramone.
Yay.
Wow, that was you have a nice voice there.
Well, coming from you. Thank you.
So, yes, everybody on the planet definitely should know who this amazing gentleman is. He is the most powerful, fastest recorded drummer for the legendary punk band, the Ramones. And not to mention so much other. I mean, we could fill 5 shows with this guy's repertoire. For real, you know. But I do want to kick off the show by saying thank you to Howard Schimmel for setting this up for us this evening. Howie's a great friend and a great gentleman. And I want to mention to all our viewers and listeners right off the bat, because we know that most of you don't have very long attention spans like us. Richie is going to be appearing at Chiller Theater October 24th through the 26th in New Jersey. So you have time to get your tickets, get your asses down there, and meet this legendary icon. It's just that simple. There'll be other people there too, but you got to go see Richie. You got to pick up his book, his audio book, his merchandise. I mean, the dude is just wow.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. That's a great convention. A lot of celebs and a lot of fun. 3 days of nonstop action. So, it's worth your time to get there.
Absolutely. And Richie is one of those gentlemen that is always on time. We had this conversation backstage about musicians and rock stars always leaving the crowd waiting and waiting. And Richie said, oh, hell no. No, I am always on time.
Yep.
Then you people got to buy tickets and get down there because he's going to be there.
Well, if you're always on time, does that mean you leave early?
Wow. Yeah, you do leave. I mean, if you're driving and stuff, you have to leave a little early. The old excuse is, there was traffic. That's like really ridiculous. Oh yeah, well I got to be there at 5 p.m. So that's rush hour. You got to go early, and and
Well,
hang out till it's time.
it means
Yep.
you're a pro, Richie, and I don't understand people in our business being anything less than that.
Well, they're on time in the beginning of their careers, and then what happens? You get jaded, and that's the problem with most actors and musicians. And there's no need for that. I'm just like everyone else. I just have a different job. It's really that's all it is. You can't never put yourself above anyone. I find that ridiculous.
Amen.
Right? I like that.
So let's jump right into this this book of yours. Now the book was written a few years ago. But you just finished the audio version of it, correct?
Yeah, I just finished the audio. I know better now, right? Mhm.
Right. I know better now. Yeah, I'm not going to ask you about the title yet. Years you've learned a lot about because I know better too, but not
Right.
always. But you voiced the book yourself, which is very unusual. Typically, an audio book is done by a quote professional reader.
Right.
What made you do it yourself?
Well, that was the number one thing that when recorded books did it. I made sure in my contract I wasn't doing it unless I read it because it's my story and I wanted people to hear my voice. And that book is like it's like me hanging out in a bar with you, telling you this story because it's in my voice. If you notice, I talk in very short sentences, and it just came across great that way. And I remember when they did it, I had to do an audition. Like I had to read some of the book for them, like like an audition. I was like, really? And I did it, and they were like, oh yeah, definitely do the book. So it's real exciting, and they now they've entered it for a Grammy for audio book and storytelling. So it's kind of fun, but that was the main thing. I wanted to read it. If I couldn't read it, I wasn't going to record it.
Nice.
Makes sense. Okay.
So to all our viewers and listeners,
Plus, you get paid a little more money when you read it.
I was waiting for the rest of that sentence.
Right.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
And I was actually going to say to our viewers and our listeners, if you're interested in the audio book or the hardcover of the book or any of Richie's merchandise, just check the show notes up above or down below. His connection links are there so that you can go purchase this.
Okay, cool.
So, yeah.
Can you give us a quick little synopsis of what I Know Better Now is about?
Well, you've read a ton of Ramones books. There's a lot of them out there. A lot of them have trash talking in them. This wasn't a trash talking. This is about a kid from New Jersey growing up and ending up in one of these most, famous bands in the world, So it's really my life story of how I grew up in, Passaic, New Jersey, and the things I went through and all the different bands I went through to finally make it into, a national act, and because I started very young, I was already drumming at, 7, 8 years old, I had my own private teacher and stuff like that. And it, tells the story of the hardships of trying to get there, and so really, it's really, it could be in any movie about anyone who growing up and becomes in a band, and then it goes into my years in the band and after I left. So that's why it's my life before, during, and after the Ramones. But it really, the book I wanted to do because I was like the mystery Ramone. People really didn't know that much about me, I had my 4 years and 10 months in the band, and then disappeared or whatever happened, during that time. And so this explained all of that and why I left and all that kind of good stuff that people always wondered about.
Okay. So it answers a lot of questions that a lot of people had that they just didn't know. And you got to tell your story, which I think is awesome.
Yeah.
Right.
It was great. And, I didn't, when I was approached about doing it, I was like, nah, I don't want to do it yet. I want to wait, feel like I'm on my deathbed. And And my agent said, no, you got to do it now. You got to strike while the iron's hot, because maybe in 10, 15 years, nobody's going to give a fuck about you. You know what I'm saying? So, and it worked out that way, it was the right time. And I don't know. I don't think I'd do another one because it was a lot of work, a lot of hard work.
Right.
Peter Aaron, he was from the same neighborhood. He co-wrote it with me. I would tell him my stories, and he'd put it together and write it. It was because I didn't sit there typing it in myself, but to remember, getting the dates right and what year and when this was and what this show was very difficult. I had to rely on a lot of people from the past to really get it right, because I didn't want to I didn't want to get things wrong, and I didn't want to make stuff up. When you write this book, you can't omit things about your life, because people will kind of read through that. Doing your life stories like running down the street naked. Took all my clothes off, and you got to know everything about my drug abuse and all the things that went on throughout those years. You don't omit stuff. If you're gonna do it right. And it worked out well. So I think it's a really good book. Maybe
I will definitely second that, because I did read a good part of the book after I got it from you, and I was blown away. I mean,
thank you.
It's definitely a good read for anybody that's a music fan, first of all, but especially a Ramones fan. In 10 I'm going to say 10 to 15 years from now, people will still give a fuck about you because of everything that you were part of, not just the Ramones, just, everything that you've done in the caliber that you have done it in, so from being a drummer to a writer to a singer, you've encompassed that, and then jumping from that to being an author, voicing the audiobook, and not recently but more recently an actor,
right?
So yeah, I'm gonna say 10 to 15 years from now, I'm gonna say even 50 years from now, my grandkids will be sitting there talking to their kids saying, that band, the Ramones, holy shit, you got to hear this song.
Yeah.
Oh, that guy on the drums that's just breaking heads right and left. Oh, that's Richie Ramone.
Yeah. The Ramones will live in infamy. They'll go on forever. No doubt about that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. For many of us who managed to break through in the business, now, Ramones and you, I mean, you're right at the top. But people think that those of us who have been in, especially those of us who have been in the business a long time, like we planned to become an icon or a legend or a superstar, whatever words people throw. But was there, there was for me, was there a moment where you said to yourself, holy crap, I'm that famous?
Never. No, I never thought of it that way. I don't think of myself like that, as an icon or a legend or none of that stuff. It's just, I don't know. It's just not me, I'm just me.
Perhaps that's why you're still a star.
Well,
yeah, I don't know. I just find all that shallow. If people want to, I'm glad they, if they enjoy my work, and, like when I do my live shows on my own, which I still tour and stuff, it's about my audience. It's not really about me. It's about them. I want them to come, have a good time, and go home and say to their friends, man, you missed it, man. What you missed tonight, it was exceptional. It's about them to have a good time, not me. I'm there to entertain them.
Your humbleness is inspiring.
Well, that's
I was going to say that.
If that's what it's called, that's fine with me.
Yep. No, I like it. It's fantastic.
But your attitude, because anybody who works in front of the public, in front of a live audience, if you aren't all about them, the show is going to stink. And that your attitude, I mean, always admired you. Now I'm like, I like this guy. Like, yeah, I want to have dinner with Richie Ramone, because his head is in the right place.
Well, I'm in LA. I could drive out there.
I'm in Palm Springs, so it's not
Right.
that far.
Right.
Richie, you come out here, dinner is on me.
Yeah, I definitely. Yeah, we should hook up. Sure.
I'd love that.
You didn't know we were doing dating services too.
Right? What the hell? What's going on here?
Richie, they're jealous.
No, actually, you know, I've said this before. I've met a lot of people over the years, and I really am not one that becomes starstruck. You know, but the day that I met Richie at Northeast Comic-Con in Boxborough, Massachusetts, and I got to bring him over and sit down and do a 15-minute chat, I got a little starstruck. I'm not going to lie. I got a little starstruck, and it doesn't happen to me very often. I think Ronnie James Dio was one of the other gentlemen that I met that I was a little bit starstruck from.
There's nothing wrong with being shoulder to shoulder to him, man.
Well, it was more like my shoulder and his forehead, but you know, and I actually had the pleasure of meeting him multiple times and actually sitting on the bus with him and Tracy G and Jeff Peelson on the Devil's Highway tour.
Yeah, he's got an amazing voice. Amazing voice.
You know, but I will say that, you know, Richie was definitely one of those gentlemen that I did get a little bit starstruck when I met him. You know, and then I got to chat with him, and he, you know, like he said, he's just like everybody else. He's just got a really amazing job.
Right, there you go.
You know, so
I'm sure you get this question quite often, but I'm going to ask it anyway because to me, your opinion matters. Why do you think the Ramones had the success that they had?
Well, there's a lot of things about that, but first of all, 74 disco, they changed the sound of music. You know, they came out with this sound that was totally opposite of the disco era. And so being innovators is number one. When you're an innovator as a band, that's going to carry on your legacy forever, you know, because as innovators, they influence, you know, thousands and thousands of musicians and bands, you know, as opposed to, you know, now some of this music, you know, and I'm not saying anything's bad or nothing, but, you know, a lot of bands sound the same, or the song sounds the same, or it's all, you know, they were innovators, and they had this special thing. They dressed like kids. They wore ripped jeans, and they didn't put on like fancy clothes with padded shoulders or nothing like that. What we wore on the street, we wore on the stage. And I think that's the main thing. And the message was simple, and a lot of misfits related to it, you know, and it was for that kind of crowd, which was really interesting at that time, how someone, and, you know, Tommy Ramone, how they could really come up with something so opposite and so fresh and new that was totally not on anyone's radar, you know. And I think that carries into a legacy, you know. And, you know, when you listen to their songs now, it's timeless. You don't go, oh, that sounds like 1978. Oh, that sounds like 1983. It's not like that. When you hear other songs, it's like, oh, you know, that's an 80s song, or that's from that period. Not the Ramones. It's a timeless sound. And that's there you go. Hopefully I answered your question, but that's kind of where it's at.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely you did. And, you know, I want to say as not so much a lover of disco, it gave people like me something else to look forward to as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because when disco came out, it wasn't for me. So I was looking for that other stuff, which is fine. You know, I mean,
it was still interesting, and, you know, the Bee Gees doing all that, and John Travolta and all that stuff. It was fabulous to see, and, you know, that movie and all that, which is great because I'm a proponent of all kinds of music, you know.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't, you know, look down on anything, but it was just remarkable what they did. You know, I tell the story in my book. I just was a year out of high school, and I heard about this Ramones, and I took some friends from high school to see them. I think it was 1975 or 6 in Dover, New Jersey, because I was younger than these guys. And this new band, the Ramones, and we went there, and there was this band playing. I was like, wow, this is interesting. This is new. And like all my friends were like, nah, we got to go. Let's get out of here. This is awful, because that was the time arena rock and Yes and all those bands they were listening to, they couldn't wrap their heads around it, and so it was fresh and exciting, and just an amazing band, and to be so fortunate to have that surname, one of only a couple guys, I take that with me to my grave, it's kind of a badge of honor,
Yeah. There's a word.
Give them respect for that, I never want to not respect that badge of honor and never do nothing that makes it, that they would roll over in their grave. I want them to still, go, oh, go Richie, you're doing great,
There's a word I think of with the Ramones, accessible. The music was accessible.
Yeah, that's a good word.
Because I'm older than everybody here, but I also come from a different background. I was a Broadway singer and a jazz singer, and I loved disco music, but I also loved going to places like Max's Kansas City. You must remember that place, Richie.
Right.
And seeing groups like the Ramones early, and I don't know how they're doing what they're doing. I don't even completely understand it, but I really enjoy it. Accessible to everybody.
Right. Yeah, there you go. Cool.
Wow. You almost impress me sometimes, Mr. Mark.
A year into this, there's a lot about me you still don't know yet.
And a lot we probably don't want to.
So, you've produced a lot of solo stuff.
Yes.
As well, which is kick-ass, by the way. Did you not just recently release an album? Was it last year?
No. When was it? I don't know when I did. 2 or 3 years ago, I think. I forget.
Yeah. See, that's what happens, folks. As we get older, the gray hair, we start to everything runs together. It was yesterday. Boy, everybody got quiet.
I've done 3 solo albums. One in 2013, and so.
Is there a difference for you creatively between recording with a group where there's multiple people and multiple opinions, and when the project is just Richie's? Is there a big difference for you creatively there?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I write the material, but, and then I have people come in and play it, in the studio. Not necessarily the band I tour with is playing on the album.
Right.
The last 2 albums, my bassist, Claire Mistake, she played on the records, and a few other people, but I get more people involved. So I'm real close to the music, you know what I'm saying? So, but there's not much difference. But a touring band is a touring band, and a recording band. Recording is a little more technical than touring, it's a little more, you got to be a little more exact in the studio. So.
Okay.
Have you ever recorded the old-fashioned way where everyone was there together at one time?
All the time.
Okay. Yay.
That's the way.
Oh,
that's the way the Ramones. That's the way the Ramones did it. That's the way I did it. We all play at the same time. And that's how you get the drum tracks. And so, when I was in the Ramones, when you listen to those records, those are all one take. John was like, he didn't want to waste money. So I had to make sure that I had it down the first time, because you barely got a second try at anything. So you wanted to make sure you did what you wanted to do on the first take. Like I would record an album in like 15, 16 songs in a day and a half, and I was done in the studio. And so, yeah, we all record together, and when that basic drum track is done, then you go back in and fix little things, fix a bass line, fix some guitar parts like that. But you need to all record together to get that vibe going, you know? I don't think, you know, doing it one at a time doesn't really make sense, you know?
I agree
The energy
100%.
with, yeah, the energy between everybody works, you know? You're all in the room looking at each other. Whoa, yeah.
Nice. So, again, folks, I want to mention that Richie is making an appearance at Chiller Theater, October 24th through the 26th.
Yeah. The Hilton Parsippany.
In Parsippany, New Jersey. Yep.
Yeah.
Get tickets, go see him, shake his hand. He's going to have all kinds of merchandise, I would assume.
Oh, yeah. We have a lot of stuff and a lot of photos from different movies. And I have a couple albums and rare vinyl and stuff like that. So it doesn't get, you know, around too much, you know. So
it doesn't get any better than that either, folks.
Drumsticks and cool drumsticks and things like that.
Very cool. So we've spent the first part of the show talking about music and the Ramones and things like that. I want to jump ahead now to you stepped into being an actor a few years back. You know, you did a movie called Head Cheese, Protege Moy, with our friend Robbie Lopez, Mark Dodson. Did you do a cameo in Friday the 13th Vengeance too?
Yeah, I had a pretty good part in that one. Friday the 13th Vengeance 2. Yeah, that was really cool. Where I get to, you know, stab him right through the eye with my drumstick. You know, I played and I was in a rock band, you know, so that was a great film.
Yeah.
You know, it was interesting. Robbie, you know, got me into this. He came to one of my autograph shows and said, I want you to be in my movie. I was like, me, you know, and that's how it all started. And then people started seeing me work there, and then a filmmaker would say, "Oh, I saw you in this. I want you to be in mine." And it snowballed. You know, I never really auditioned for things, or never really, you know, went to casting calls, or never thought of myself as that.
Right.
And, it just kept getting bigger, and then, you know, I was in a movie, and so I did those three. Then I did one in Miami called Youthquake, and now I have, you know, now there's more coming out. The Boy from Below has just been finished. That should be out. That I have a cameo in, which is really cool. I don't want to tell you about it, but I'm the gravekeeper in that horror movie, and you know, I run the cemetery there, and
perfect.
There's a movie called 259, like the time of day, where I play a clairvoyant. That's a pretty big part for me, and that's a true story that happened. And the latest project is I finally have my own 20-minute short film that should be going to be entered in festivals now, and soon to be online. It's called Fallow, where
I'm gonna keep talking. I'm just gonna do this. I'm gonna do this, folks.
Right.
This is the. Yep.
It's really about hardship and losing a loved one, and how I'm so tormented, as you could see by that picture, just trying to get through life. You know, I play a goat farmer in there. I have a farm and everything, and you know, as my wife dies, trying to get through life without her, it was really emotional, very, very tough to do. You know, being in that character for a week was really difficult. So I'm really excited about that one. So there was a lot going on with that. And, you know, I'm just testing the waters, reinventing myself in ways that, you know, is kind of fun. And, you know, when I did these movies and doing movies, you know, I got to tell you, I think they party harder than rock stars, these actors. It gets really wild. I mean, when the lights go out and they say cut, done for the day, it can get pretty bananas at night. I'm telling you, there's some crazy stories about all that. And so I kind of fit right in, you know. I was already prepared for that part.
So,
I know, like, you know, Jason and Naomi, they do fantastic work.
Jason Brooks.
Jason Brooks.
Jason Brooks, amazing guy.
Yeah, and I'm assuming
they're all up in Seattle.
they're in Seattle. Yep. Yeah, they're hard workers and they just keep on going. And
Yeah.
I mean, it's fantastic, the stuff that they're putting out.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
the Vengeance 2 and the movie 259 were both shot by them. And
Yep.
Cody
Okay.
Newton's a great cinematographer, and he also directed 259. So
Yep.
they're really a bunch of nice people, and you know, they just love what they do. And you're doing these things. You're not doing these on big budgets, you know. You're raising money, you know, to do whatever you can do. You know, these aren't $1 million movie budgets or nothing. You're
Right.
making movies on, you know, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000. It's crazy, you know.
But I will
some
say,
of them are better. Yeah.
yeah,
Some of them are
I will
actually
say
better.
that crew, you know, Jason Brooks, even Lopez, but Jason Brooks, like, it's a small world because you've worked with these people. We've been friends with them on the
Okay.
circuit and the tour and behind the scenes for 4 or 5 years anyways, you know.
Oh, okay.
Jason and Naomi are killing it out there in Seattle.
Mhm.
And Robbie is doing the same in KC. You know, these indie filmmakers are really, really starting to take the screen by storm.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
I watch more indie than I do anything else these days.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I do too. You know, so I want to congratulate you for this new one, Fallow, coming out, because you wrote it, and it's all about your story.
I didn't write the movie. No, I didn't write it.
Oh, I thought you wrote it.
No, not Fallow. I didn't write it.
You just acted in it?
Yeah.
Oh, you're just gonna burst my bubble like that?
Well, I don't want to start getting, you know, phone calls.
Oh, so if I say
didn't
something
write
I
it.
shouldn't say, you're still gonna get the call.
Right.
Richie,
No, I didn't write it.
how much New Jersey is still in you? I'm from Brooklyn, and no matter how far away I get from it, somewhere at my core, I'm still a Brooklyn boy. Is New Jersey still in your DNA?
Listen to my voice.
I
That's
know.
Total Jersey.
Yes, I
You
know.
know, people go, "Oh, you from London or something?" No, it's New Jersey. You know, but oh yeah, totally in there. You know, I've been living in LA now for a while, since I was back and forth, and then in 2009 I finally moved here for good. But you know, there's nothing like, you know, New York and Jersey, that East Coast. You know, I'll never get used to what is out here. Although I like the weather and I like the golf and that kind of stuff, but it's just, you know, it's different. You know, I don't think I'd want to be, you know, grow up out here. You know what I'm saying? I'm glad that I grew up on that East Coast. To give me
Me
that
too.
East Coast brain, that East Coast vibe, and that, you know, that
Besides, you
kind
can't
of
get a
attitude.
decent slice out here.
Right. Totally. You know, and you know, and to just grow up with that kind of attitude, you know, I think that really helped. So, but you know, as you get older, you're not in the clubs all night long. You know what I'm saying? So now you can live out here and, you know, have a car, woo, you know, stuff like that. You know, as
I
opposed to
felt the
being,
same
you
way
know,
when I moved to LA. A car. Ooh.
right. Mhm. So
Hey, you
yeah,
spend
but
your youth. You
yeah.
spend your youth riding the tubes and the subways and the buses. A car is a big
Yeah.
deal.
Mhm.
Oh, I know. I just like the way you guys said it. Like, you moved to California, LA. Woo, we got a car. Yeah, but now you can sit on the freeway for 17 hours just to go
Right.
5 minutes.
Well, you learn how to work. You learn how to work around those hours.
Yeah.
Luckily, you don't have a 9 to 5 job where you have to do that. So
Right.
you know, okay. Another
And
thing
I'd
about
rather-
being on time, if
I'd-
I have to be somewhere at a certain time and I know there's traffic, you're going to leave early. You know, so
And I'd rather be sitting in my car listening to the Ramones than on the PATH
there you
train
go.
hanging
Mhm.
from a strap.
Right.
True that.
Although that has its charm too. You know, what you see there, but now, you know, as a kid, it had its charm. How many
Now
times
we go to Walmart.
yeah,
Now
how
we
many
go to
times
Walmart.
I fell asleep on that train so many times, on the F train, end up in Bed-Stuy, you know, oh my God, where am I? You know, like you wake up at the end of the train and you got to go all the way back.
Yeah, Coney Island.
Right. So, yep. Cool.
See, I use the word accessible. You, Richie, you are accessible. Maybe that's part of your success. You're so
100%.
open. You're so open. It's wonderful.
I mean, when I do, even when, I'm touring South America, which is where our biggest fans are and everything, when the show's done, as soon as I'm done, I go out there to meet the kids and talk to them and go to the merch table and say hello and sign whatever they have. You could have all this merch and all they have money for is nothing. So you're signing the back of their tickets, hundreds of tickets, but I'll stay out there another hour talking to them. I mean, back in the day, in the 80s, I remember, Ramones, as soon as the show's over, it was like, this is before, the internet and all that stuff. You'd hide after that. You'd sneak out the back door and leave. Now it's different. You need to be accessible and need to talk to everyone. And they really enjoy that.
And you never know who you're going to inspire, too,
Right.
by doing that.
Oh, the stories you hear and the stories of how they say, oh, you changed my life and how you saved me and all these things. And, I don't think of it this way, but so many people look up to me, and I want to be responsible for that. I don't want to be an asshole to these kids and stuff. They really look up to me, and it's hard for me to grasp that in my heart. You know what I'm saying? Because I go back to the story like I'm just like everybody else, but they really do. Really. I mean, I've had people cry. Like when meeting me. It's like wow. So it's important to be, accessible, like you say. I like that word. I think I'm going to use that more often.
Please.
Oh, and I think that being that way, because you can literally change somebody's life by being a good guy and giving them that 5 minutes, or being a dick and not.
Right. Exactly.
That can seriously change a kid's life.
Mm-hmm.
And
Exactly.
I commend you for that. I mean,
Right.
I wish more would do that. When you're walking through an airport, if you're walking through an airport and somebody recognizes you, you don't just diss them off because they're a bother. You stop and you say hello.
Right. Exactly. Like down there, it's one place Argentina, Brazil, I get recognized. I could be in the airport. I remember this woman coming over with her 2 children, crying, "Oh, you're Richie Ramone, oh my God," and I always have stuff to give them and sign, and like School of Rock, I did a lot of things in Chile and stuff like that with all these little kids, and I went from room to room and jammed with them. Oh, it was so excited, to see the joy on their faces was really touching, So you always have to remember that in the back of your head, that people look up to you, and just remember that. And you're right. Don't be an asshole.
Right.
I think that,
too many people forget that without the fans, you don't exist.
Right. Mm-hmm. Exactly.
No, it's true.
Also, I fully believe talent is a gift. And Richie, you are very gifted. But with a gift like that also comes another word I like, responsibility. To be true to your talent, to be good to the fans, and to not be an asshole. Right. You're not given talent like that to be an asshole. And Richie, you and I could name about a half a dozen people in 3 seconds who are jerks, who have the big talent. And I've never understood why people are like that.
The greatest thing about it is that's just me. So I don't have to think about being a good guy. It's just in me, Other people may have to, try hard to do that. It's just me. So
yeah, if you have to try hard, there's something missing to begin with.
Right.
And people and kids they're smart. They're smarter than you think, and they can pick up on that if you're being a fake or being real, So that's good. Well, thank you for all the compliments now,
Well, obviously we're all 3 of us fans. but also I admire you, the person.
Right. You know, a lot of people, like you said, would just be like, is this interview over yet? You're like, this is bullshit. I want to move on. And there's gentlemen like you that just enjoy the simple things like us.
And the cool thing about this movie, Fallow, Jason Brooks, he had 2 of my songs in that movie, but Fallow is all my music. And
Wonderful.
It's like 5 songs in there, which is kind of cool too, being in this business, because sometimes you get to involve some of your own music as long as you're acting, and so everything gets in there. It's kind of interesting, So yeah, I'm really excited about that, but it takes a long time. You make these things, and it's like a year, 2 years before anybody gets to see it. It takes a long time to edit it, and gee, what's going on? It's not like booking a show and playing it and you're done. So.
Well, no, that's what you do to fill the time while you're waiting for the movie.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, pretty much.
So we know about your appearance at Chiller Theater,
right,
coming up October 24th through the 26th, folks. I'm going to keep saying it. This is just, until somebody realizes, oh wait, shit, that's coming up. Let's go see him. Are you going back on tour?
Not right now. Last year my drummer died, and it took me a while.
Sorry,
Still taking me a while to get it going again, because mainly now I front the band, because you can't sing and play the drums and be the front man from the drums, because it's always dark back there. Nobody sees you, in these clubs. It just doesn't make sense. Where's that coming from? So I mainly front, and it's very difficult to find drummers who can play like this kind of music, and so
yeah,
I'm thinking, next year I should be doing some things again. I wanted to give it a rest and get all my shit together and start writing some more things. But I dove into that acting head first, and there's some more scripts I'm reading now and stuff like that. But yes, I would definitely get out there again, because I need to see the world at least 1 or 2 more times on the tour before I don't do that anymore. You struggle a little bit now, as being late 60s, 69 years old now, and
you look incredible
to be singing about teenage rebellion, or I want to be your boyfriend and stuff, or kind of feels a little weird to me sometimes, stuff like that, but I have to get over that and just do what I'm going to do. So I'm not sure,
Let's write some tunes about old people.
I was just going to say, write some tunes like, I can't find my pills. The diuretic kicked in.
Who stole my diapers?
Right?
I already wrote on the last album, Who Stole My Wig. So, that was a funny story, because people who wear wigs, I was thinking about, and that becomes your best friend. You know what I'm saying? You can't do nothing without that. You can't go out. You can't do anything. So the story about, it got stolen. Someone stole it from the hotel room and stuff like that, and it affected his life. It's his best friend. You even give it names, because you usually have multiple, more than one. So I thought that was a really funny song. But even I don't know if my latest album, there's a lot. I wrote there's some lyrics that were wrote by can't think of her name now, but there's a lot. It just turned out that way. There's a lot about mental health on that record, what I'm singing about, like Suffocate, and I need a straitjacket, just to give myself a hug, just trying to find self-love, stuff like that. And there's a lot of emotional stuff on that record, which has really been working well, because this mental health thing is really big right now in the world, and
Yes,
and
it
I
is.
never really said, "Oh, I'm going to write songs about that." It just happened like that because I don't try to listen to other stuff when I'm writing records. I just want to come out from what's inside, and I guess a lot of that stuff I wrote after this COVID or during the COVID when a lot of weird shit was going on,
Yeah.
and so live to tell, you know, live to tell is when that's the name of the latest album, and I don't know if you saw the album cover. If you ever saw the album cover, Live to Tell, I asked people what that is. Well, that's my aortic veins in my body, because in 2019 I had to cancel a tour. I had a 6.2 aneurysm, and I was just about to go on tour. The doctor said, "You ain't going anywhere. That thing's gonna blow up." And that's how this whole, I got my stents and I feel great now and everything. And it was, that's how Live to Tell came about. And the whole thing started with that record, because when the doctor showed me that thing, I said, "Listen, that's my next album cover." And sure enough, it was. He's so happy about that. So, and I'm a spokesperson for, aneurysms, especially aortic aneurysms. We call it the silent killer. You don't know. You have no clue that you have this. There's no pain involved with it. It's just a swelling of the vein that gets bigger and bigger till it blows up. And then there's like a 2% chance of living after it blows up. So, there it is, right there.
Yep.
You can see that big fat thing in the middle. That's a swollen vein. It should be like skinny. Look at the size of that thing. And you could see one on the left side. There were two, another one growing, and the exertion of drumming, and that's been growing for years, could have just blew that up one time. So I was very gifted that they found that by accident, just by doing a little exam on me. So
Right.
So always be aware, look at all these things. Johnny Ramone dying, of prostate cancer, because you got to go to the doctor once a year. You just got to do it, even though you don't like to.
Right.
When you get to a certain age, you just got to get checked out just in case. So that's the silent killer. That's so many people die of that because they don't know. It doesn't make you sick. I had no idea I had that thing. It was giant.
Right. Right.
So, enough of that bad stuff. But
well, let's dovetail off of that. Life on the road under the best of circumstances, although it's very satisfying, is really, people don't know how hard it is.
Difficult.
Are you doing anything as you're getting older to make life on the road a little easier for you? Like, what does a typical tour feel like on a given day?
It's difficult because we're DIY. I'm not to the point where I have roadies or anything like that. In America, it's difficult because, well, I'll rent like a big SUV and I'll drive it during the day and drive the band members around. And then when I get to the hotel, they go to sound check and then I take a nap before the show. So you're driving a lot. In Europe and other places, you get a driver and stuff like that. But like when you go to Argentina, it's every day you're flying to a new city every night. Get up early in the morning, sleep a couple hours, go. It's really difficult. What am I doing to better that? I stay in better hotels. I don't, I gave up staying in Motel 6s and, promoters want to put you in the biggest dumps ever. It doesn't happen that way. I keep my eye on the ball, make sure the hotel is really good. I'm a Hilton guy now, so I get all this friends and family stuff. So I only stay in Hiltons, and I feel it's better. So it's so I do more of that kind of stuff. I'm more aware of where you're going to dump me. Where you're going to dump me for the night.
Right.
Because it can get, it can get bad. 1 year I was on tour, and I must have had the bed bugs, came home in my bag. My house got infested. It was the most horrible thing in the world. It's a whole nother story because you can't really use chemical and bomb the house. It doesn't work. These fucking things hide, man. And you have to hunt them like you're hunting. It took like 2.5 months every night. They only come out like 2, 3 in the morning. That's when they attack and feed. You know, when we were back on tour, I woke up one night and I was like, oh, what is that? And I was bitten so many times. So you have to hunt them every night. You get up and hunt these. Put the light on. Oh, there's one. Kill it. And the hard to kill was the most horrible thing. And, you know, at least staying in a better hotel kind of helps with that. You know, like.
What do you stab them with a toothpick or something? How do you kill them?
No, you just got to stab them and kill them. Squeeze
you got to
them.
wait. You got to wait, Jeff Holman. Mr. Richie Ramone is on to a new movie here.
Yeah.
Right?
They're really horrible.
Bedbug Massacre?
Yeah. Really, yeah. The Bedbug Massacre. It's really, I'm sure that movie's been done, but it was really, really difficult. And that was during COVID, you know, that 2021 or something. I came back from tour, and so that's never happened again. But you know, they get in all your clothes, and it's a nightmare. Just a nightmare. So really weird stuff.
Oh crap!
But,
okay, well, that was an interesting.
I'm staying
story.
in better hotels. I do that.
Yeah.
Renting a better vehicle, you know, and
so
making the drives. I tell them, no, I'm not driving 7 hours and performing. You got to do it 3 or 4 hours to the next city. That's it. You know, and so you learn over the years what to do, you know, to try to make it a little better. But it's hard, but it's wonderful too at the same time.
Yes.
So,
I'm sure you're eating better these days too, compared to 20 years ago.
Yeah, well, you can't eat like a teenager anymore.
No.
You know, that doesn't work either, you know.
No, you got to skip the McDonald's because you just shit a grimace an hour later, you know.
Although once in a while, enjoy that White Castle.
Yeah. Right.
So,
yeah,
I mean,
you gotta eat healthy. You gotta take care of yourself, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, look at these guys like Alice Cooper, and they're like well into their 70s, and they're still doing it. And,
I thought he was like 105. Oh no, that's Mick Jagger.
Right, he's 82 or something. That's a different kind of music. That's a blues-based music.
Yep.
Punk rock is so aggressive and so hard, and we never stop. That hour and 10 minutes is brutal.
The energy required to do what you do is absolutely amazing.
It's way more than playing, backbeat music, So I think you can go a lot longer doing that kind of stuff than this kind of punk rock stuff.
No, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, the conditioning that it takes to be a drummer is insane. One of my relatives, my cousin, is a drummer for the death metal band Thy Will Be Done, and similar situation. He had
on earth as it is in heaven.
What's that?
The next line, on earth as it is in heaven.
Exactly. Yeah. But
I'm a Catholic boy.
A few years back, he had a similar situation, a health issue similar to yourself, where he had an imperfection with his heart, had a heart attack in the middle of the night, very mild, but ended up in the hospital. They induced a coma, but they told him straight out, it's because you're a drummer that you're still alive, because there is no really other conditioning out there for somebody in you guys' caliber, where, a death metal band is they're constantly aggressive and hard. Punk rock is the same way,
right?
So if you were a drummer for Ned's backstore band over here and you only played once a week, odds are,
right, the
conditioning's not as
you can drum and drink beer at the same time. You can't do that in this kind of music.
Right. You have to have somebody pour it for you.
Richie, you mentioned something earlier in our talk this evening, and we kind of flew over it. And if you don't want to talk about it, I'm just asking. You did mention periods of drug abuse around you. Was that something you had to deal with?
No, not. This is another thing. I never became like, the addict. I always knew when it was time to stop.
Good for you.
I know guys that, if they did coke, they got to do it for 5 days straight and never sleep. That wasn't me.
That was me. Yes.
Yeah, I kind of knew when it was time to stop. And marijuana, you never have to stop. But any of those other drugs, it was, I kind of knew that I had to stop. I never was addicted to heroin or never shot up, mainly because I really wasn't around that crowd. I'm sure if I was around that crowd, I would have been there, and maybe that would have got me. But I really wasn't there. A lot of that stuff was happening early 70s in New York City, and I really wasn't quite there. I didn't really come on the scene till 79, kind of, and by then we kind of knew better than that. But it all depended on who you hung out with. I used to like to smoke angel dust and put it in, because it always tasted like peppermint. And I would tell my friends, oh, it's peppermint rolling papers, and watch them just go to the floor, on angel dust,
Remind me never to smoke a joint with this guy.
I don't know if you could find that anymore, but that was really interesting stuff. And, all the psychedelics. I used to like to do all the psychedelics and all that kind of stuff. But as far as, shooting the stuff, I was never around that crowd. So I'm blessed that way because I lost a lot of friends to that.
Right.
Yep. I can appreciate that story. I mean, I had a coke problem. I never shot up, but my reasoning is because I, in my head, thought that if I ever did stick a needle in my arm, that would make me an addict.
Yeah. Our friends out there know I'm clean and sober 36 years. And for the people out there in our business, especially the music people who manage to sidestep, that's like, yes, yay. Perhaps that's why you look so good and you're still working, because you knew when to stop. And maybe you don't have the ism in your DNA either. Could be.
Right.
Yeah.
That's possible.
See, I'm that way. I don't have the ism in my DNA, or in my character, I should say, because I was always that one that could drink and put it down. I could go out and pick up a straw for the night and put it down the next day.
People can drink all the vodka every day, I mean, they could just drink, that really wasn't me.
Right.
Throw up and that would be it. I'm done now. Now I got to wait.
There was a new bottle of Stoli in my freezer every night.
Yeah, see?
No.
You bad man, Mark.
I was. I'm very lucky that I had the moment of clarity and got better, and I'm still.
Did someone help you with that moment of clarity?
Somebody
some love in your life that helped that?
Somebody jumped off my balcony on mushrooms, and I said, I'm next. I better do something about this. So yeah, they helped me by being a really bad example of what I didn't want to have happen to me. No, I reached out for help, and I got clean and sober through 12-step programs.
Right. So you turned the ism into a wasm.
Yeah, it's a good joke. It's always here. I mean, it doesn't go. It doesn't go away. Nope, but I think 30 seconds. I think of the ism as this really powerful guy with huge biceps, and as long as what I'm doing is more powerful than that biceps, I don't have to worry about it. But I have the ism. And the people who don't, God bless, and have fun, enjoy yourselves.
Right.
The hardest thing for me to quit was cigarettes. I smoked for over 50 years, and I finally did it. And like you said, it never goes away. It never goes away. When you smell one, you're like, "Oh, that smells so nice." But I've never.
I got to do that.
It's been like 8 years now that I haven't had a cigarette. And now, it doesn't matter.
Again, no wonder you look so good.
Right.
And have the energy to do all of these wonderful projects.
Thank you.
So we are just a touch over time. I don't want to keep Richie too long because I promised Howie that I wouldn't. So with that being said, Mr. Holman, do you have any last questions?
It's amazing. You didn't ask any hard questions. oh, why did you quit the Ramones? Or why did you do that?
Well, you know what?
Because that's all been done.
No, this show is
I like
more.
that.
Everybody asks you that question, so why should we?
Right. I was just going to say, if they want to know that,
You know
there's
the
100.
answer.
We already know the answer.
There's 190,000 interviews with you out there that already have that.
Right.
Yeah. See,
You
we
know?
wanted to know
It's
what
a
kind
nice-
of drugs you did.
Friendly conversation between a few grown-ups here. Very nice.
That's what we do. That's what we do.
That's how we
thank
run
you.
the show, and that's how we've been so successful for six years. We don't do
Thanks
the
a lot.
standard Q&A. But I do want to give Mr. Holman an opportunity here to ask a last question.
Yeah. So, do you like
here it
squirrels
comes
or
now.
do you like squirrels or chipmunks better?
Where the fuck
Well-
did that come from?
Squirrels. Okay.
Because my dogs really love squirrels.
Okay. All right. So see
Well,
what I
see-
just got? He also is a dog guy.
Right, you got
Yeah.
your answer to your actual question that you normally would ask somebody.
That's right. See?
Big animal activist, you know, and love animals.
Yep. Ditto.
Yep.
Ditto,
Mr.
ditto.
Jeffrey Mark, do you have a last question for this amazing guest?
I don't have a question. I just sent you. There's a folks who are watching and listening. There's a private chat where we can talk among ourselves. I just sent you, Richie, my phone number. It would be my honor to have dinner with you anytime you would like.
Definitely. Yeah, because I go out there from time to time. There's some fun restaurants there.
There are, and I'll come into LA just to see you. I promise.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
So
I don't get starstruck hardly ever. I've met everybody, but I get respect struck.
Mm-hmm.
I have enormous respect for your music, for your talent, and for who you are as a person. And I don't say that hardly ever. So please know it's from the heart.
Oh, thank you so much. Much appreciated. You're a cool guy. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I can reach out through Howie to get in contact with you, but I will say if you ever tour Boston,
Okay.
shoot me a message and I will
let us
be
know.
more than happy to roadie for you while you're here. I'm serious. I did it for my cousin and his band. I carried his drums. So I have not a lot, but like this much experience, but the experience to be able to just roadie for you and sit backstage or side stage and watch you perform would be epic.
That's cool.
You know,
I want to say richieramone.com. That's where you're going to find everything about me. So if anyone wants to learn about the movies or what I'm doing or what I've done in the past, richieramone.com is the place to be.
that's
My only
right.
plug.
That folks, that link is in the show notes up above or down below,
okay.
depending on where you're watching or listening to us. But no, I love that you plugged that because usually we got to ask somebody to plug themselves. Over the course of tonight, we've talked about mental health, drug addiction, and things like that. In our show notes are some links if you're in a situation like that, including veterans helplines. So
Okay.
make sure you read the show notes, folks, because if you're down and out and you need a hand, there's somebody out there that's going to listen to you.
Yeah, me.
Coming from people that have been there and done that. So with that being said, I want to thank Richie for taking time out of his extremely busy schedule to sit here and entertain you folks tonight.
Thank you, Richie.
To all our veterans and first responders, we want to thank you for doing what you do so people like us can do what we do. Stay safe. We'll see you next week. Oh, October 24th through the 26th, Chiller Theater, New Jersey. Get off your ass. Get off your couch. Get off whatever you're on, unless she's really pretty. Then you got 5 minutes. Then get off, get tickets, go down, see Richie and all the amazing guests that are going to be there. And yeah, with that, be safe. We'll see you next week.
Thank you so much, guys.
Have a
Thank
happy-
you so much.
You're welcome,
Thank you.
Richie. Stay
Thank
safe.
you. All right. Bye now.